They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 259 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got in the building this morning. We got Constance Sherrod down in Pearl, Mississippi. We got Mona Obamolak down in Orlando. We got Dr. Rachel Edo Eckett in the building, President-elect Maryland Association of Elementary School Principals, mentee of Dr. Sharon Porter in the building. We got Nadira Coley in the building. We got Michael Benton. Nadira is, I should say, from Newark, right? She Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. We got Michael Benton, Cincinnati, Ohio. Ronald Pugh, Cedar Hill, Texas. Takesha High, Virginia. Rodney Richardson, Hampton, Virginia. It's interesting how the two of y'all be aligned every week, right? I don't know how that happens. Dr. Rella Hicks, Augusta, Georgia. Amelia Lange, Yules, Texas. Where we at? Elisa Rivera, Rhode Island. Lysandra Brackens is in North Carolina. Robin Snowden always says to me, Harambe. Right, she said to the Kefele and leadership fam. That means we will pull together, y'all. We coming together, we unified. That's what that means. Key Swahili. Arlette Johnson. Arlette, y'all do me a favor, give me some emojis. Arlette Johnson is the 2023 Assistant Principal of the Year. And she getting ready to be principal, man. Give her some emojis. Give her some emojis, right? Good stuff, good stuff. Leslie Akintunde is in the building, Northern Virginia. Dr. Sonia Matthews, she was just with us recently. Make sure you go back about maybe 4 videos and check her out on the YouTube channel. And you'll be blessed by it. It was a powerful session. In fact, she says super pumped about Maryland's Dr. Porter. Man, Dr. Porter, I was just saying, we were talking off mic, man, world renowned. Everybody know Dr. Porter, man. She getting ready to bring that thunder. Marsha Poe is in the building all the way in San Diego. Always good to see you. Marsha's going to be our guest later on in the year, too. Fatima Nelson, good to see you out in Pennsylvania. Rod Laws, Hotep and Harambe, Greenville, North Carolina. Stacy Joy, L.A., in the building. She says spring break, man. First, so grateful. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm getting ready to travel myself to San Juan. I need a break. It's not the kind of break you get, Stacy. Mine is just all them flights, man. All that airport experience, all that hotel experience, all that rental car experience. I'm getting ready to kick back in San Juan in May. Yolanda McKinney is in the building. Takesha Truesdale, Atlanta, Georgia. LaKenya Rowland here in Jersey. AP Patrick Lawrence, Connecticut. Where we at? Vanessa Zeskin is also in Connecticut. Golfar WT. I ain't seen you in a few weeks, my brother. He's down in Atlanta. Lily Lanier, Rose Hill, North Carolina. David Bell, Benton Harbor, Michigan. And Annette McMahon. I hope I said that right, Annette. She said from Aurora, let's go. You know, I'm going to be in Aurora. Soon, I think. You know, I don't know where. Send me an inbox. I'll tell you where I'm going to be. But I know I'm going to be in Aurora soon. Justin McMillan is in the building. The queen of the castle, Kimberly Broughton Kafele, is in the building. That's the wife, y'all. September Devon Vance Daniels is in the building. She's also in Jersey. Dot McKeever Jeter, retired principal Dot McKeever Jeter. Big time fan of the platform. She's one of my first guests ever. Got to get her back on here too. But go way back, like 4 years back and see that conversation we had. There's Sean Hurt. He's in the building, man. Y'all got to check him out every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, Facebook Live. Sean Hurt, followed by Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Yours truly at 10:55. And then Sunday, Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno, PDP podcast. That rounds us out on Saturdays. We Super Saturday. And then with the 4 platforms, we are the Fantastic 4. I don't know where you're going to get this level of PD, where you got 4 platforms consecutive with us all talking about different things, man. You know, we're not the same. You know, we're all doing different things. We're all in different lanes. You got to check in with all of us, right? I'm getting ready to shut it down, y'all. Charlena Hottie is in the building in Norfolk, Virginia. There's the vice principal of retired principal, Dr. Deneen Washington. There's Denise L. Taylor in the building representing Belmont Runyon in Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. In fact, she's from Jersey. I was going to end it here, but I see one I got to end with. I see you, Josh Tovar, John Few. Let me end this one with where we at? Mary Teresa Folk, formerly of Anchorage, Alaska, and now in Montana. And I will be in Montana at her school in a few weeks, man. Looking forward to reconnecting with you, Principal Folk. So I'm going to end it there. Let's jump into it, y'all. Let me say to everybody formally, good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 259 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Hey, y'all, look, I got that question that I ask y'all every week. Let me get up a little closer here. How you feeling? That's it, man. That's my question every Saturday morning. How y'all feel, man? How you feel? You know I'm keeping a smile on my face when I ask that question. Yo, let me say this. I keep saying to you, I want to keep it positive. I want to keep it positive, and I'm going to keep it positive. But I am going to say this, y'all. Because see, this educators, right? Y'all got 401k. And I should say 403bs, right? Man, when that Dow, D-O-W, stock market, for those of you that don't keep up with the technical jargon, Dow, S&P, Standard & Poor's, NASDAQ, when that Dow hit 2,000 points down, your brother, Principal Gafele, I was not smiling that day. I'm just going to keep it real with you. I was not smiling that day. I'm like, yo, man, what we got ourselves into. But I thought about you. I really did. I said, I ask that question all the time, and I always end it by saying, but you got to find a way to bring that smile back, right? And I'm not going to talk about that day after when it went up 2,000, right? I ain't going to talk about that because there's some stuff that I don't need to be saying on this platform about why that happened, right? So we going to keep that over here somewhere, right? But so I wasn't like in this joyous mood because I understood it. But I will say this: whether it be your finances, whether it be whatever, whether it be your leadership, you still got to find a way, somebody. I'm talking to somebody. I'm talking to somebody. I'm talking to the fam, but I know I'm talking to an individual out there. You got to find a way to bounce back. I don't know what that is. I really don't. I know what it is for me. But you got to find a way to get back up on your feet, to bounce back, because you can't dwell in this mess, right? Because see, we talking about a 4 more year ride. So we in month like what, 4? So you can't dwell in it in a way that it destroys you, that it saps you of all your energy, all your excitement, all your enthusiasm. You can't. You got to find a way. When I see 2,000 points down and like 10% down, yeah, that could wreck your day. But let me tell you something. You could ask my family. I found a way to smile, baby. I ain't letting nobody rain on my parade. You might bring like some drizzle, right? Right. You might bring that, right? You might bring a little fog, that type of thing, right? Some raindrops. but you ain't going to douse my fire, man. Ain't no drizzle going to douse no fire. You're not going to douse my fire. And that's what I just want to transfer to somebody out there. Not just finances, whatever. Right? Let's whatever you grappling with right now. Don't let nobody douse your fire. We're gonna leave it right there before I wind up taking this thing somewhere where it don't need to be. Listen, y'all. First, let me say, I lost my sequence, y'all. Continue thoughts and prayers, as I say every Saturday, to the folks who lost their homes in those California wildfires. I'm just not going to stop saying that right now. At some point, I will, but right now I'm not, because it's not like them folks found their homes, right? Or found homes, right? They're in temporary places, but it's not like they got their homes back, right? So that's still a tragedy. So I just want to recognize it, but I also want to recognize, because there's been some seriously devastating tornadoes, particularly in the middle of the country. And I just want to say thoughts and prayers to them as well, right? So thoughts and prayers to just folks who are just going through some real devastating weather-related or environmental-related issues, events that happen just in life, right? Could happen to anybody at any time, including myself, even though I'm in Jersey, right? Anybody. We move on. Shout out to Sandalwood Elementary School. Parents had an opportunity to spend time with some parents the other day in Baltimore. Sandalwood Elementary in Baltimore County. Shout out to them. Good conversation. Parents coming up to me, man, I needed this. Ooh, this was good, right? And we didn't even have enough time, but just that kind of feedback is what you want. Shout out to Alexandria City Schools Aspiring Leaders Academy. I had a contract of 4 sessions, so 4 full days of just working with their aspiring leaders. It's one of the highlights of my year so far. Just working with them every month, just bringing them that information, things that they may not necessarily see in the graduate school program. It's the real teachers of leadership are the ones who've done it. Not the professor that never did it before, but did the research and all that. I mean, they got something, obviously. But the one who actually walked this thing and did it for a good amount of time, because, some folks, they did it, they did a drive-by principalship and they ain't really done it for a long time. But I'm talking about the ones who been in this thing for a minute. They got some stories, right? They got some experiences. I can just talk stories all day, to be honest with you. A lot of times the stories are so informative. So shout out to them. But if I can go out of sequence for a minute, you all have an opportunity to spend 2 days with me in Raleigh, North Carolina. You know that. July 15 and 16. That's right, Dr. Garrett. July 15 and 16. I'll be in Raleigh with Principal Kafele's School Leadership Institute. But this year, we're going to call it Principal Kafele's Instructional Leadership Institute. So we're just going to spend 2 full days talking instructional leadership. And I want you in the building. So go to principalkafele.com. Scroll down to where it says Principal Kafele School Instructional Leadership Institute. Hit that link, register, join me in Raleigh, July 15 and 16. Yes, you got to pay a little something, but that's an investment in your career. And I might add, by extension, it's an investment in your life, right? So make sure you register, join me in Raleigh, July 15 and 16. And of course, you get a free copy of this along with it. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise, right? That's my newest one. So you get a free copy with your registration. So make sure you register. If you already got a copy, then give the copy to somebody that could benefit from it. But you get a free copy of this. So while I have it in my hand, if you don't have a copy yet, what you waiting for? Go get your copy. If you're on Chrome, hit that other tab. You're on app, or you're on Safari, hit the other tab. Order it now. Keep me on. Order it now. Get it out the way. I promise you, you won't be disappointed, right? I've had nobody tell me that this is a disappointment. People tell me, they say, man, I can't put this book down. Oh my God, right? Or, ooh, this book's got me feeling very uncomfortable, right? But that's in a good way, meaning I got to make some shifts in my leadership practices, my instructional leadership practices. So get yourself a copy if you don't have your copy now. And make sure you join me at ASCD. Man, ASCD this summer, United Conference, NASSP, NAESP. Join me. We'll talk more about that later. Right? That's summertime. All right. Where we at? I'm on my monologue. Right? Let's go. Hey, y'all, my monologue, I'm going to keep it short, but I need you to do something for me. I need you to get this. Get yourself a pen. If you're going to type, obviously type your phone. I need you to take some notes on this one. Get your journal out, right? If you're one that uses a journal, I'm not saying that to say that I'm gonna be doing a long monologue, because I'm really not. But I want you to get this. I'll be going solo the first Saturday in May, and then every Saturday after that, I'm doing the first Saturday solo. But so I'll have time to really break certain things down from my vantage point. But for now, let's jump into this monologue, and then I'm gonna bring my guest up. My monologue title is "Do This Daily." That's in capital letters. Do this daily, ... Then experience an immediate shift in your leadership. Let me say it again. Do this daily, ... Then experience an immediate shift in your leadership. What am I saying? Once again, y'all, get this out. I got something for you. I want you to reflect upon your leadership. If you're someone who's not quite in leadership, you're aspiring, then I want you to forecast your leadership. I want you to just foresee it and think about who you might be. But for those of you who are in it, I want you to consider, as it relates to performance, academic performance, as it relates to academic achievement, what are the two most critical practices of your leadership that increase the probability that your school will perform at the heights that you want it to perform, right? Once again, what are those two? I mean, there could be more than two, but I'm not asking you for that. And you'll understand why in a minute. What are those two most critical aspects of your leadership that must be in place that increase the probability that your school is going to perform at the highest levels? Or if highest levels is too much of a jump, that your school will make the gains relative to the goals that you set at the beginning of the school year. What are those two critical aspects, right? Now, here's where I want you to write. I got 3 questions I want you to own. I want you to own these questions. Question number 1. At the end of the school day, I want you to reflect. You can stand in front of your building. You can go back in your office, wherever you do your best reflecting. A lot of mine was in front of the building after dismissal when the students had left the school grounds. And then I just stare at the facade of the building and I reflect. So wherever your best reflection occurs, maybe it's on your ride home. I don't know. Maybe that could be dangerous though, right? But wherever it is, here's the question number 1. Who was I today within these 2 critical aspects of my leadership? Once again, who was I today within these 2 critical aspects of my leadership? Now, here's why this is so critical. Because imagine you said these are the 2 most critical relative to the academic performance of my school. But then as you go into this deep self-reflection, you determine, oh, I never got to either one of those. I wasn't that guy. I wasn't that gal, right? So, but if you don't reflect intentionally, you might miss the fact that you were absent from these 2 most critical aspects. You weren't, so that you deemed them critical, but you weren't present in them. Oh God, I feel myself getting ready to preach. I gotta calm down, right? So, because I got guests today, right? So I should have saved this for the first Saturday of May. So let me go. So I'm saying to you, you said that these were the 2 most critical. But then circumstances happen, or you made decisions that weren't written down, and now you found yourself doing other things, and you never got to these 2 critical aspects. So that's question 1. Own that question, somebody. Question 2, am I satisfied with who I was relative to these 2 critical aspects? Ooh. See, the first just said, who was I? But now you go to question 2. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep saying it. Own these questions, somebody. Am I satisfied? This is you in real time. Am I satisfied with who I was today relative to these 2 critical aspects? That's number 2. So now you got to have a heart-to-heart with yourself. I'm not even talking about your accountability partner. I'm not talking about your thought partner. I'm not talking about none of them people. I'm talking about you and you, right? The person in your reflection, you and you. That's all I'm talking about. Then my third question. What were my shortcomings today within these two critical aspects of my leadership. So now you want to identify, well, what were the shortcomings? What made you be who you became that day instead of being who you knew you needed to be? See? So now I said, do you have this today? The pen. Let me put it to the side in case you can't see it, right? But then I said, now have this. Because now you got to go into your office, right? And now you got to journal this thing, man. So now you got them 3 questions and you refer to them every day. And now you journal. Okay, who was I? So in your journal, now you start writing, who was I? Be honest. If you got to say, I suck today, write that. Like, I was not good. I was not beneficial. I was not an asset to my school. And here's why, as it relates to the academic performance of students. Or I could say, and pedagogical practices of teachers, right? Number 2, so am I satisfied? Write it down. Nah, I'm not satisfied. I know I'm better than that, right? Or if you somebody you think you did great when you really didn't, I'm satisfied. Well, you satisfied with underperformance, right? So whatever it is. And then what were my shortcomings? You got to be honest with yourself on this one, man. What were your flaws today? What were your deficiencies today? What were these things that were happening in the building that prevented you, that precluded you from being who you needed to be? Maybe it was the culture of the building. Maybe you didn't talk to the school during your morning announcements. Because y'all know I'm a stickler for that, but I ain't going to get deep into that because you catch me on the second week of May, the first week of May. So again, so then moving forward, and then I'm done. Write your goals. That's why I say have this. Write your goals for tomorrow based on the three responses to those 3 questions, or more responses to the 3 questions. What's the goals for tomorrow? Toward improving from yesterday. So we ain't talking about no long range goals, no weekly goals, no monthly goals. We talking about your goal over the next 24 hours. What's your goal moving forward to tomorrow? But most importantly, beyond that goal, what is your plan? What is your strategy? See, you a goal without a strategy is just a hallucination, as my guy Salome Thomas L would say. Right? You got to have a strategy. You got to have a plan. Does that add more minutes on your day? Well, short term, yes. Long term, it reduces time on your day. Right? So you got to write a plan because you can't repeat that. You don't want to repeat a bad performance. If you want to get into a habit of winning. So again, as I close, my title was simply "Do This Daily." ... Then experience an immediate shift in your leadership. Do this daily, then experience an immediate shift in your leadership. That's my monologue for today, y'all. Let me get to my guests, man. I got heavyweights in the building. Let me get them on up here. Yeah, we got the heavyweights in the building. Good morning. Good morning, good doctors.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I know y'all chomping at the bit. Like, they like, yo, I want to jump right in on that. He just spoke. I know y'all do, man, because I'm talking to 3 principals.
Amazing monologue. Amazing.
As soon as I finish with your
Yes.
bios, you feel free to chime in on that if you feel so that you want to. Let me start off with Dr. Porter. Dr. Sharon H. Porter is an award-winning educator, accomplished author, and publisher, dynamic host, renowned for her multifaceted contributions to education, media, and leadership. As the president of SHP Enterprise, she oversees the operations of Perfect Time SHP LLC, a hybrid book publishing firm, and SHP Media and Broadcasting, which encompasses the impactful Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine and Media LLC. In her role of the executive director of the Next in Line to Lead Aspiring Principal Leadership Academy and New Principal Roundtable, she says Dr. Sharon, Dr. Porter passionately, that's what jammed me up, empowers and guides assistant principals and first-year principals from across the United States, nurturing their leadership skills. Her commitment to educational leadership extends to her current position as elementary school principal in Maryland. So she wears a lot of hats, y'all. She currently serves as an NAESP, National Association of Elementary School Principals Center for Diversity Leadership Fellow. She is a part of the NAESP Professional Learning Advisory Council and was awarded a 2024 MA, that's Maryland Association of Elementary School Principals, Connected Leader Award. A prominent figure in the media landscape, Dr. Sharon is the editor-in-chief of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine and Media, and founder of the SHP, that's Sharon H. Porter, Media Podcast Network. Additionally, she captivates audiences as the host of the I Am Dr. Sharon show, showcasing her expertise in engaging interviews. Lastly, Dr. Sharon's academic Dr. Sharon's academic journey, I'm reading fast, y'all, reflects her dedication to continuous learning and excellence. She holds degrees from Howard University, Walden University, Johns Hopkins University, National Louis University, and Winston-Salem State University. Additionally, she's a part of the 2019 Harvard University School of Education Women in Leadership cohort, further solidifying her commitment to leadership development, acknowledged for her leadership acumen. Dr. Sharon is a proud member of the Forbes Coaches Council, president of the International Association of Women, IAW, Waldorf Chapter, American Business Women's Association, a founding board member of Black Women Educators, Leaders, Black Girls in Media, National Association of Black Journalism, and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Her influence extends to her role on the board of advisors for the Women of Prince George's, a testament to her dedication to the community and women's empowerment. There's a lot there, a lot of stuff there. Y'all might want to connect with her. All right, Dr. Deneen Washington has a bachelor's degree in finance. She has a master's degree in educational leadership and with a specialization in administration and supervision. She has a doctorate degree in educational leadership. During her career, she has served in the roles of principal, vice principal, classroom teacher, and adjunct professor. Throughout her career, she's successfully led underperforming schools out of the New Jersey Department of Education comprehensive status, transforming school climates and cultures to optimize student growth and achievement. Dr. Washington is an innovative, transformational leader and a systemic thinker with experience in working with school operations through strategic planning, curriculum and program development, effective faculty interaction, and communication. She has experienced success in meeting the needs of historical, underserved students and creating stimulating and challenging learning environments conducive to the highest level of achievement. Throughout her tenure, she was passionate about her creating a positive, inclusive school culture that prioritized student engagement, family involvement, and the development of a safe, supportive learning environment. Upon her retirement in June 2024, that was recent. Congratulations to you. Dr. Washington has authored her first book, Thriving Together, Cultivating Growth and Well-Being in Educational Communities, and has founded Anchored in Excellence LLC, where she provides consulting services to school leaders and districts in strategic planning, instructional leadership, and school culture and climate. Strong stuff. And I might add, some of us in this work, I hope you don't get mad at me on this one, Dr. Washington. I'm gonna be vague with it though. Some of us in this business of leadership, we run into some superiors that let's see, what's a good way of putting it? That I'm trying to find the right words without being political. We run into folks that give us some problems, right? That should not be there. And some of you write me, you know who you are. You write me these inboxes and you say, Kafele, I'm dealing with this and that. This, I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with that. And can you kind of walk me through it? Well, once you hear Dr. Washington, I don't know that she would want to get into this story, but once you hear her just talking about what she talks about, you might want to inbox her if you're going through some stuff from central office, because she had to live that, and she had to live it publicly, right, through the press. But she got through it on her feet. Trust me when I tell you. It was 4 of them. I know them all, and she got through it. But sometimes we run into these leaders that just don't get it, right? And then we're the ones who suffer it as principals, right? But I'm gonna leave that right there, Doc. And you'll hear her talking about what she talks about, and then if you decide this woman might have some answers for me because I'm dealing with some mess in my district, that might be somebody you want to talk to, right? So enough said there. Let me read this last bio. Dr. Shante Garrett is the Chief Executive Officer of Empowering Learners and Leaders to Excel LLC and is serving as interim assistant superintendent. She served in education as a teacher, specialist, building and district administrator, chief academic officer, superintendent, and whole child equity advocate. Let me read that again. That was a lot. She served in education as a teacher, specialist, building and district administrator, chief academic officer, superintendent, and whole child and equity advocate. Dr. Garrett is passionate about transforming schools and systems to create impactful learning opportunities for each student. She supported and led transformative efforts that included increasing the graduation rate, achieving meeting academic growth across subgroups and content areas, and doubling dual enrollment opportunities for students. Her work is rooted in a whole school approach that emphasizes high quality instruction, STEM, SEL, and college and career preparation. SEL, social emotional learning. Her service in education earned her the honors of NAACP Young Educator of the Year Award and the ASCD Emerging Leader and Champion in Education distinctions. Finally, as an international education consultant, Dr. Garrett supports schools, leaders, communities to improve outcomes holistically, focusing particularly on closing the achievement gap. She serves as an advisory board member for Empower All Inc. 5013 C3 and focused on supporting student mental health through STEM, and vice chairwoman of the Transforming Education International Board, working to connect resources for educational transformation among international communities. In addition to her work with schools and districts, Dr. Garrett is a contributor to Educational Leadership magazine and has served as ASCD design team member on topics such as whole child education, instructional coaching, instructional design, instructional leadership, accountability, and more. She serves as the featured speaker and presenter at a cadre of conferences I've had the opportunity of seeing her speak. Known for her practical and empowered focused approach, Dr. Garrett's workshops inspire educators to lead with vision and purpose, fostering environments where all learners can thrive. Hey, y'all, hit that share button, hit that retweet, hit that somebody, call somebody, tag somebody. Let them know we are here. We finished all the preliminaries. We getting ready to get down. Hey, Dr. Porter, let me start it with you. Question that I ask all my guests. You figure all of us are multifaceted in terms of our lives, but regarding you as an educator, not necessarily just you as a leader, just you as an educator, who is Dr. Sharon H. Porter?
Wow. Very profound question from Machiavelli. A woman of many hats, that's for sure. But when you just get down to it, first of all, I'm a woman of God. My faith is strong in everything that I do, right? I'm a wife. I'm a bonus mom. I'm a pet mom. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. Uh, and I'm an educator and a lover of all people. And that speaks through everything that I do. I'm a storyteller. And everything that I do allows me to tell the stories of others' journeys. That's who I am.
Love it, love it, love it. I want to stay with you for a little bit, and then I'll jump around to my other guests. Your bio reads that as you're the executive director of the next in line to lead aspiring principal leadership academy and new principal roundtable, where you empower and guide assistant principals and first year principals from across the United States, nurturing their leadership skills. I read that it resonated with me because that is my favorite thing to do. Out of everything that I do, that's it. You know, because those are the hungriest people, and I think you would agree with that. They're hungrier than anybody else we could talk to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for assistant principals there's so much that you could say to them. You know, we could spend a week, 8 hours a day with assistant principals and still have 1,000 hours more of content to share with them. So Dr. Sharon, given that, thinking about what you would say to an assistant principal and knowing that there's a bunch of assistant principals watching us right now and others who will see the videos later, what is the most significant thing that you could say to an assistant principal relative to their roles as assistant principals and their development as assistant principals?
Absolutely. This is my hard work, Principal Kafali. Leading new assistant principals, first and second year assistant principals. And what I tell, and when I was the coordinator for my district for 5 years working with first and second year APs, I would tell them, first of all, you need to find that person. And organizations and events such as this right here, I don't know if they understand, and maybe they do because of your uh, the way that they come each week. You said 259 weeks,
Yeah, yeah.
so they do understand.
Consecutive.
Consecutive. That is amazing. And so, for any AP who is not right here every Saturday, shame on you. Because this is what you need. This is like your monologue today, Principal. I'm like unbelievable. And after this, my AP is going to be on here every Saturday.
I
And
appreciate
so, no, really, absolutely for real. And so they need to find a person or event such as this that they can learn from. It may not be in your building, it may not even be in your school district, because we know there are a lot of principals that are not great leaders.
you. Yeah.
And so, effective leaders, assistant principals, you need to identify that and go find who that person is to mentor and coach you, because it may not be your principal. You may be learning from them, learning what not to do, but you need to find that individual who's going to help guide you and get you to the next level. That is the first and foremost thing.
I love it. I love it. I got another one for you before I move. Um, you also work with first year principals. And just I got a million different things in my head in terms of what I say to them, what I could say. What is that thing when you think about a new principal, a baby? Is that because that's what they are, a baby in this business? What is that thing that you said, this is the most significant thing that I could say to you on day one as the presenter, as the mentor, whatever it is, the title to this new principal?
Build relationships. And you know what? And I've been a first year principal several times. How going to different schools, right?
Yeah,
Every
same.
time you go to a different school, you have to build relationships. Without relationships, you have nothing. You are not going to get anywhere because you are the principal. You have to build those relationships. And I can speak, I've been principal over 5 schools in Maryland as well as North Carolina. And each time I stepped into a new situation, including my very first year, 2008 as principal, I had to build relationships. And those relationships helped me through some very challenging times. So that would be my comment for that, is to build relationship, step one.
So to the fam out there on the other side of my camera, the topic today, I just chose the title of one of my books, Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It? And you just heard Dr. Porter. I'm talking to the fam now. You heard Dr. Porter just now. She said build relationships. So let's go to that question. Is your school, is my school? So let's keep it a second person. Is your school a better school because you lead it, right? Because you lead it. Well, let's go to Dr. Porter's response. Build relationships. How can it be, and this is just rhetorical, how can it be a better school because you lead it and you don't have relationships with the right people? Relationships in the school, relationships with colleagues, relationship with parents, relationship with community, relationships with your students, right? How can it be a better school and you don't have those relationships? So that's right there at the core. So again, it's not my show today, but I just felt moved, right? Just piggyback off of what you said. Let's go. I appreciate that, Dr. Washington. Let's jump in here. I'm gonna go right from your bio on this one too. That's why I'm reading these. Throughout your career, you successfully led underperforming schools out of the New Jersey Department of Education comprehensive status, transforming school climates and cultures to optimize student growth and achievement. What I want you to do is just give us some insight, because again, I'm always thinking about who's on this call. My YouTube gives us analytics, and the bulk of the folks that tune in are aged 35 to 44. This is a young, so for in terms of leadership, this is a very young audience in terms of the bulk of the folks who tune in on the YouTube side. So what I want you to do, give us some insight on the culture that the culture that was required for you to start making these changes that you wanted to change. But within that response, give us a sense of the culture that you walked in on, steps that you had to take
Oh
to
God.
transform that culture. I guess I threw a lot at you, but take your time.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna chunk it.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were giving your monologue, I was writing my responses to your question, and part of my two aspects was an observer and a listener. Those are the two important aspects for me to be an effective leader. And I had the privilege of being a principal of two schools in Newark, New Jersey, Maple Avenue School, and most recently Belmont Runyon School, two totally different environments. So when I walked into Belmont Runyon School, we had a high turnover rate of staff. We had low enrollment. We had high chronic student absenteeism. We had low student attendance. We had the very low proficiency rate, which caused us to be in status. So when I walked in, right, I walked in with a field of dreams, right? I knew what I was going to do. You had that cape. It comes with the package, right? The principal cape. You walk in and you deliver your dream to your staff, and they're respectful. They sit and they listen, right? And you look at them and like, why aren't they receiving me? They're not receiving me because I'm not receiving them, right? I went in with my dream without having those conversations, right? And so it took me less than 30 days. We had a 10-day plan. It took me 10 days to realize like we need to reposition this dream because it's not collected, it's not responsive of the whole school community. And so what I needed to do was to listen to my people. That was the most important thing. And then I had to tell them, I am going to be transparent with you through this process. I am going to tell you the truth, and we are going to work through this together because I realized that cake needed to be shared. I could not do this by myself because I had students that were experiencing things that I had not experienced as a leader. Because in this area of the South Ward, we had a lot of students that were products of their environment, and they were experiencing adverse childhood experiences that I knew nothing about. So I had to listen to my social workers. I had to listen to the teachers in the building that had experience with students that had mental health disorders that were not diagnosed. And so we had to come up with a formula together. And I had to do that by first doing a needs assessment to see who was in my building, the teachers, the students, the population of parents, the community resources that we had. We did that within the first 3 months. So we weren't making that plan got put aside until we could see how the building was operating. Right. And then I just began to jump in. Right. You can't sit in your office when you're walking into a new building. You need to be out and visible. You need to watch and observe and listen. You're listening to the parent comments. You're listening to children in classrooms and how they're not being engaged. And then you begin to sit and make plans. And that's what my book, Thriving Together, is talking about. It's talking about going in and assessing what you have, looking at data. Yes, you're looking at the academic data, but you're also getting perception data. You're getting perception data from your teachers, from your parents, and for those babies in your building. You're giving them that voice to talk to you and tell you what they want, how they don't feel safe coming to school, how they want to be have programs that they don't have. So you need to listen to them. And to listen to them, you need to get into the office, get out of your office and get into the classroom with them, get into the cafeteria, go in the playground, and you get to hear all of these different things. And that's why I said listening and observing. And you're observing who's coming to work, who's not coming to work. That's data. Who's staying late, who's coming early, all of that. And that's your perception data that no one has to say a word. You can just observe it. And then you ask them, what do you want? What do you need to thrive? And they begin to tell you, because that's why they became teachers, why they became educators, why they became leaders. And you work to create that culture that everyone wants. And it's not easy, You don't sleep at night because you're always thinking about how to be better. How do I be better? So when you ask that question every day, I'm in my car on my ride home saying, okay, I didn't listen today because I was too busy doing that. How do I need to refocus for the next day? So we had to strategize and talk about how we're going to do our daily plans, how we're going to do our weekly plans, how we're going to collaborate together as an administrative team and as a regular team with all my advocates with people. And I had to listen to them because they helped me to realize I don't know everything. And I was comfortable in my leadership to say, I need to listen to the people that are within my building.
Whew. I love it. I love it. That's strong stuff. Let me stay with you. Since retiring in 2024, you've created your own company, Anchored in Excellence LLC.
Yeah.
It's your consulting company, and your area of focus is one of your areas of focus, I should say, is instructional leadership. You have multiple areas of focus, but because I'm so engrossed in the instructional leadership these days in terms of my work, I kind of zeroed in there, and I wanted to ask you what to Dr. Deneen Washington. This is specific to you as opposed to a general question. What does instructional leadership mean to Dr. Deneen Washington, and what is its significance to the pedagogical growth and development of the teachers that a principal or an assistant principal supervises?
I think that everyone learns differently. Adults learn a certain way. We focus so much on how children learn. We don't focus on how adults learn, or more specifically, how adults teach. Because there are different assessments that teachers can take to say, okay, this is my teaching style. And sometimes how teachers teach don't match the learning styles of the students that they are in front of. So you have to kind of gauge that assessment and kind of find teachers to give them a way to merge it together, right? And so as a leader, you're always learning. As an administrator, you won't know every program in your building. You won't know the algorithm in 8th grade. You won't know all the pedagogies with the reading program with kindergarten, but you're reading about it. So when you go into the classroom to observe teachers, that you have an understanding as to whether their pacing is correct, and whether the materials are correct, whether the question is correct. So as an administrator, you're learning with the teacher. And if you are comfortable in your leadership, like I said before, you will let them know, I don't know this program. This is new. We're going to learn it together. We're going to unfold it, unpack it together. In our school, we had gotten a pre-K program, a blessing because it increased our enrollment. I knew nothing about pre-kindergarten. I knew nothing about Head Start. I knew nothing about the creative curriculum. And I was honest with the teachers. So we learned together. In our PLCs, we unpacked together. Teachers presented, I presented. We looked at student data together. And so that's what principals aren't doing, is that they aren't learning with their people. You have to continue that learning. The learning continuum doesn't stop because you become a principal. It gets more intense once you become a principal.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate that, Doc. I want to go backwards because I failed to ask you the first question.
That was the first.
I skipped. I was anxious to get to that the second and third, but let me go back to the first one now. Again, as I said to Dr. Porter, our lives are multifaceted, but look at the educator side of Dr. Deneen Washington. Who is Dr. Deneen Washington as an educator? Who are you?
I'm a systems thinker. I don't think I have OCD, but people, I like things a certain way. And I think that plans are needed. Ideas are great, right? We have to scaffold them and put them in its order. So I'm that type of leader. I'm an analyzer, right? I'm a little bit of an introvert, but my extrovertism comes out in my passion when I talk about my work. I'm a planner. I'm an organizer. And throughout my retirement, I just been trying to figure out who Deneen is, because I devoted so much of my time in education and helping others and leading schools and everything. So now I'm developing my passions and just becoming better and refining my trade and still learning. I'm still reading. I'm still doing webinars. I'm still trying to gain certificates in different areas. So the learning is ongoing. but I'm still trying to find time to be that nana, and I'm a mother, so still trying to find ways. My daughter is entering leadership, so I will be her first mentor process, and just trying to guide her in that through her journey.
You just said something that this is why these sessions go so long, like 2 and 3 hours, because you just said something that I refuse to gloss over. Right? We got to have this conversation right now. The four of us. You said I'm trying to I've retired, right? And now I'm gonna quote you. You said now I'm trying to figure out who Deneen is. We can't move on because that's us.
Yeah.
You know, so many of us we caught up in the principal so and so, and I'll be the first to admit it about me. I'm searching for Baruti all the time, right? So I'm because my life revolves around Principal Kafele. Sometimes I forget that's really not my name, right? So, but people call me, you know, they literally say, "Hey, Principal," right? Oh yeah, they talking to me, right? So here's the thing. And I'm throwing this at you first, but I want Dr. Garrett and Dr. Porter to feel free to jump in here. How do we make that distinction
Yeah.
when this principal leadership is so freaking overwhelming? And I don't mean just like coming from the top. I mean our passion for what's happening in the building. How do we make that distinction between Dr. Washington and Deneen? Talk to us, Doc.
It's hard. And what I try to do is bring some of my passions to work, right? And try to get people interested in some of the things that I'm interested in. And then sometimes those things could come alive in your building. For example, I love birds, watching them. I took a birding class last weekend,
Oh,
right? So at Belmont Runyon School is a campus. Beautiful. We have trees, we have birds. And so I love birds, right? That wasn't on the top of my staff list, but they respected my view of liking birds, right? And so we have all these clubs and sports. So I said, I think kids can like birds too. So I started a birding club, the Belmont Birders. And we went birding. We went on trips. They studied bird. We had a lesson plan from Cornell Institute of Ornithology. And so, like that little thing, that gave me my outlet for me to be able to share my passion with my children, and it exposed them to something different. So they began to come back and talk about how they went to the park and they talked about birds with their family. And so I got them to look at birds differently. So that little thing was my thing. That was a Deneen, and I was able to facilitate it through my school. And so, like that little thing.
you see what Grady just said about you.
You see what I'm talking about, right? But my kids knew they could talk about migration, they could talk about the state birds, they could do all of that. So I think learning about you is just having people that's around you that respects you for who you are as a leader, and understand that you like certain things. And if you don't have time to do it on a weekend because you're always at work, then bring some of those passions to work, and then you can help
Absolutely.
other people learn about them too.
I totally agree. Because that's exactly what I did. I used to, as a point, to try to keep my life separated. And then I realized just a few years ago, why? Why am I doing that? And just like you, Dr. Washington, I love media, right? That has nothing to do with education, but I brought that into my school. I started a podcasting club. I have a student podcasting club. I have a book writing club. I write books. I'm an author. I teach my students how to write and publish their books. So I did the very same thing. So I'm not so consumed with education as a profession. So you're exactly right. I agree with you.
Hey, Dr. Garrett, considering you wore a lot of hats, and you still do, right? Because I mean, you got your company, but you're also assistant. I mean, interim assistant superintendent. So so how do you make that distinction between Dr. Garrett
Mm-hmm.
and Shantae, or even Nashette?
Shantae, Nashette, yes, I use all the names.
Yeah.
See some folks in the chat using all the names, and it's fine. We talked about this months ago. And it is, and I think it's even different. And this is one of those distinctions I try to make sure that we put on the table, even for single people, right? Because I'm a single person. I don't have children and a family of my own, right? So, and I think that's something to take into consideration when you step out on your own as a independent consultant, and even developing your own family and things. And even when you're talking about work-life balance and boundaries and how people relate to you and how you use your time, right? Um, and so there is a distinction you have to make, because I remember having a conversation with my board member when I decided to leave my campus, right? And one of the things I said was, I'm making a choice to leave now before I regret what I gave. Because it can be so consuming. And you're looking at everything you're putting on the table and you're weighing the balance of what you are offering and what you're putting on the table and what you are feeling like you have left to give, right? And so and doing those things, right? So you are looking at what you have offered and all of the things that you have shared and put, you know, and brought to yourself, like, so I have all of the pieces of social media and introducing the social media and sharing out the social media pieces. Those are some things that I brought to the table. And even being a part of a rural community. And those were one of my connecting pieces, having rural roots. And that was a place that I began to open up and share as parts of my vulnerabilities and beginning to build relationships with the community that I was serving and how we connected um, with staff and families and being in rural communities, and those types of things. Um, and even where I was trading out my Sundays and not attending my Sunday service with the church that I had been a part of for over 30 years, and being in that community, and attending Sunday services with my families, which I loved because I was literally sitting in pews with my kids. And wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. But it was also giving a significant part of myself to that community when you're talking about building relationships and faith, right? And so it is, and it's not even. I remember a friend, and she's a coach, and one of the things that she says, it's not work-life balance, right? It's work-life acceptance, right? So what are you accepting, right? Because is this notion of balance really a thing, right? It's how you accept, right? And so what I wanted to create was just, what am I willing to accept?
Mm.
And for me, it was, I really wanted to make sure that I left my experience in a way that I remained and had positive feelings about it. And I never ever, ever want to experience regret around it. And I should have, I should not have done that. And I should have done more of this, right? I should have given this time to my godchildren, or I should have given this time to my mom, or I should have given this time to my nieces and nephews and those types of things. I never wanted to have that experience. And I don't have, those experiences now. Um, and I appreciate that. And so that is the conversations that I no longer have to have, because I have a stronger sense of acceptance in this space now.
I love it. I love it. That's powerful stuff, and I'm glad we stopped and paused to talk a little bit about that. That's a whole topic, but I'm glad we at least stopped and paused and said something, because there's somebody out here watching right now. It could be a multiplicity of people who are out here watching, who their entire lives is this leadership. They take it home, they sleep it, they breathe it, they eat it. It's everything, right? And we need people to lean on, or people to listen to say, wait a minute, you don't want to regret anything later on,
Mhm.
which is inclusive of your life. I'm the heart attack victim. So I get all that on the physical level as well. And just an important topic. Let's keep going. I'm gonna stay with you, Dr. Garrett. We got a lot to talk about here.
Sure.
I'm gonna go to your bio again. You served, as I read a couple of times. You served as a teacher, a specialist,
Mhm.
building and district administrator, chief academic officer, superintendent, whole child and equity officer, and now chief executive officer of Empowering Learners and Leaders to Excel, LLC. And you're currently serving as interim assistant superintendent.
Mhm.
Of all the positions that you've held, because that's a lot. You've kind of run the gamut, right? Of all the positions that you've held, though, which one did you find, or do you find, to be most self fulfilling, and why?
I would probably say the work that I'm doing now as CEO of Empowering Learners and Leaders to Excel LLC is the one that's probably the most self fulfilling. And I'll tell you why, because it's the one that allows me to encompass all of the things that I have learned and gained through every other experience, which is why I built Empowering Learners and Leaders to Excel. And it was really a response to the what we saw in pandemic leadership, right? And because what you see a lot of great leaders who could use the extra assistance, right? The extra set of support, and built a company with systems that could fill in the holes where there be the understaffing, the strategic leadership opportunities, or either just support with the innovation that is needed to be able to help with the transformation and the improved outcomes that is needed in different spaces, right? And so what would be some of the fulfillment pieces, right? Is it the academic improvements? Is it the social, emotional, and cultural pieces that we are experiences with student social development and needs? Is it the staff cultural needs that we are seeing arise with changes in our educational landscape? So, any of those pieces, and through all of those hats that I've been able to wear throughout my career, we've been able to touch any and every one of those faces. So it's, and over this span of time, um, it's been a joy to be able to touch educators from different areas and even different continents and be able to work on their strategic problems and help them find solutions.
Love it, love it, love it. Let's stay together. I'm staying in your bio.
Okay.
Um, your work supported and led transformative efforts that included increasing the graduation rate, achieving meeting academic growth across subgroups and content areas, and doubling dual enrollment opportunities for students. Um, my wife just walked by me, and I completely lost where I was at. So, so yeah, here we go. Here we go. So your work is rooted in whole child approach that emphasizes high quality instruction, STEM, cell, and college career preparation. I wanted to focus on the instructional side as I did with
Mhm.
Dr. Washington. Talk to us, therefore, given everything I read about your role as building leader. This is going back to when you were in the building, relative to making high quality instruction the reality in your classroom. So, in other words, I'm throwing at you another instructional leadership question for the benefit of the folks who are tuned in right now.
Mhm. Yeah. And so, one, it's not built overnight,
Hmm.
right? And you heard me say that over and over again when we were together at ASCD, emphasizing that for the folks in that room. Two, we communicate my work, but just like with Dr. Washington, that was the work of a very diligent and hardworking team of teachers who were teachers and administrators who were very dedicated to making sure that growth happened for students. And so there was some cultural work that had to take place, and a lot of listening. So, Dr. Washington, when you were talking, we really had to think back to what was happening. And so there was some disconnect between community and what was happening within the building. And I remember going around, and even when we started having the conversation with those professional learning communities, like, what is this experience, y'all? Because we really have to make some gains. Really have to um, like close these gaps. Well, one, teachers were feeling some kind of way about their interactions with families, and I already knew how families were feeling because they were going to tell you. Right. So we had to get some renorming going on, right? Families didn't have any hesitation about telling you, but teachers weren't necessarily feeling supported. So we had to renorm about what this interaction looked like and recommunicate about what this interaction between families and teachers um, looked like, and communicate that out loud. And with strong school leadership, that happened, right? And teachers feeling supported in that, but also restructuring our professional learning communities. And so, with the work that happened as a instructional specialist and seeing how that happened, restructuring PLCs, brought that to that instructional team of instructional coaches who lifted their muscles and really got focused on those 4 do 4 questions and really got into those PLCs, working with those teachers, and then really got some really strong principals who could work with those teachers and continue that work and meet with those PLCs to really make sure that they understood what students needed to know when they were teaching, what happened when they learned it, and what happened when they didn't learn it, and how we were going to fix it. And continuing that process over and over and over again, and strengthening students' muscles around learning constantly over and over and over again, to make sure that growth happened at the end of the school year. And so, no, I couldn't sit in every single PLC. And then,
Mm-hmm.
right, but it was a very structured team effort that made that happen. And a team that was very much on board. And it was the presence of and the power. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about your work, Principal Kafele, because you do not ignore the power of instructional coaches and the work that they do in the instructional team alongside of principals, to make sure that there is a systemic process about making sure that growth and academic gains happen. Um, and, through our work too, like, we don't ignore, and I think that's one of the things that we have to make sure of when we are thinking about schools, because every school is not built the same. So we don't ignore that life happens for kids either, right? So when we're talking about building these relationships, there's relationships inside the building and there's relationships outside of the building. So we don't ignore life for students. We utilize those relationships outside of the building to help support the life that students bring into the buildings, right? So all of this stuff that students go through that impacts their academic achievement, we did a really strong job of using our relationships with churches and community partners to support all of those things that impact their academic achievement outside of school, so that they could come to school and learn every single day.
There's a whole lot in your response. I'm hearing the community partnerships for sure,
Absolutely.
and then I'm also hearing the power of the PLC, right? Yeah, in terms of what you're doing. So it's certainly not confined to instructional leadership relative to administration and instructional coaches. There's so many other components to your model of instructional leadership that I think is beneficial for a lot of people who were listening. You don't have that first book ready, do you?
My first book.
Yeah,
You know we working on it.
I know. Yeah. That's I know. So we gonna need all that content.
You know we working
I
on
know.
it.
I had to think of the timeline, So need all that content in that book.
You trying to get me in trouble.
Yeah. No, we gotta get that out there. Let me keep going. I missed the question. I did the same thing because I'm looking at my notes and I'm like wanting to get into this content, but I missed the first question. Compartmentalizing you. Who is Dr. Shante Garrett?
Dr. Shante Garrett is first and foremost Alice and Bobby's baby girl. And I say that because I know Alice is probably on one of these platforms watching. Principal Kafele knows because she's at conferences with me too.
Yeah.
She's and I am, and that's one of the biggest parts of me because Alice is Dr. Garrett #1. She probably is typing that in on one of these platforms here. 40 plus year educator whose college counselor told her that she was not college material. And Bobby would have been, and said if he had had the opportunity to go to college, he would have been a teacher himself. And so education was paramount in our home because we knew, we were raised knowing that it was the vehicle. It was a vehicle to be anything that we wanted to be. And it was a vehicle for advocacy. And so when you hear me talk about whole child development and you hear me mention that we are serving so that each child has access to experiences and exposure, Shante Garrett as an educator is unapologetically and always going to be serving to do what is absolutely best for every student to ensure that they have those experiences and exposure that are going to provide them the access to the opportunities that they need to not just survive, but thrive in this world. And so that's the birth of empowering learners and leaders to excel. She is the godmom to 6. She is the aunt to 12 and great aunt to 7. And who will move mountains for all of them, because this world deserves the leaders that they will be. And I do this work to support leaders because our students need great leaders to help them be everything that they can be.
Appreciate that. Love it.
Thank you.
I got one more that I want to throw at you all, and I'm not going to assign it to anybody. I'm just going to put it out there. But before I do, I forgot to do something. I always talk about what I'm wearing, and I normally would wear a Negro Leagues jersey. But those of you that have been rocking with me for a long time, you know that April I devote that to Jackie Robinson. But if you see it closely, this is a different kind of material. This is satin. In 1944, the Major League Baseball started having night baseball with lights. So Jackie Robinson comes in 1947, but in 44, night baseball began. But the fans couldn't necessarily see the players well, so they created these satin jerseys to kind of reflect the light and give the fan a better viewing of the players on the field. So then 3 years later, here comes Jackie Robinson. So on the back of this jersey is number 42, and that's Jackie Robinson's jersey. So a lot of people don't realize that this is another jersey that he wore as a member of the Brooklyn Dodgers, this satin jersey. So for night baseball, this is what he wore, right? So that the fans could see the players better as they perfected the lighting of the stadiums for night baseball. So a little history. I like to make sure that people know what I'm wearing when I wear these jerseys, which is every Saturday, but usually it's a Negro League jersey. And I'll say this for those that may not know. Jackie Robinson played in the Negro Leagues for the Kansas City Monarchs. Will rock his jersey on the last Saturday of April. It's Kansas City Monarchs jersey. Let me go here. So our topic again is: my school a better school because I lead it? That's a question of attitude, really, right? It's what I feel about myself, but obviously rooted in my results. So my question to anybody that wants to jump in here. Talk to us about the impact of the attitude of the leader for the overall performance of a school. Is it important? Does it matter? Is it significant, or is it overplayed? Somebody jump in here and talk to us about the attitude of the leadership.
Yeah, I'll jump right in because that question really resonates with me. I'm being at a different school this year for the first time, a very low performing school, a school that needs a lot of work, a lot of reculturing, just a lot of things, like so much so I didn't know if I was going to end the year. That's how strong it was. But
Mm,
what I had to do was really stop and say, hey, I've helped so many leaders. I've done this, I've done that. It's now time to prove that my school is going to be better because I'm leading it.
mm,
And that is the only reason why I didn't leave in December. This is true and transparent.
wow.
And so that question, because I said, I'm at the end of my career, right? Can retire in a few years. And my school closed last year because it was old. And so, which is the reason why I came to a new school. But I think the attitude of the answer being yes, Principal Kafali, is what is going to get you to that next level. Your school has to be better because you're leading it. It has to be. And so I had to make some changes, and I'm making them now. And I am so ready to start the new year because my mindset is different. I didn't know, first of all, I didn't know what I was walking into. And anybody, I don't know if they're listening, but they know it because I told I've been bamboozled. That's how I felt. Honest to God, that's how I felt. And so I was like, whoa, what am I in?
Yeah.
And the only reason I stayed is said, I need to prove the work that I've been doing works. My strategies, the all the things that I've been pouring into leaders for all of these years, I got to now put it into play.
Yeah.
And so to answer the question right today, I would say I don't know. But come see me next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come see me next year
Yeah.
because it will be a better place because I'm leading it. So the attitude has to be without a doubt.
I appreciate that transparency too. Good stuff. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I totally agree. And I was thinking about your question with that aligns to your book, and I kind of flipped it, and I said I'm better as a leader because of the school that I lead, and it's because like I own the brand. Well, I did own, no longer there, but it was a brand that I embraced, right? And I owned it, and I had to make sure that everyone else bought into the brand. I had to believe in it. I had to believe, even though we had our shortcomings. I was going to build the best brand that there was. And when you heard Belmont Runyon, when you saw our logo, when you stepped into our building, you need to feel the brand.
Mm,
Everything was about the brand. When I'm meeting with my administrators, how are we protecting the brand? How are we helping our teachers to become ambassadors for the brand? How are we helping our children to be ambassadors for the brand? How are our parents being ambassadors to the brand? So if I don't believe in it, then no one else will believe in it. My administrators won't believe in it. My teachers and support staff won't believe in it. The community won't believe in it. The students won't believe in it. And the parents won't, because we need to increase enrollment. We need to retain our staff. And we're only going to do that if the head believes in it. I walked, talked, and thought Belmont Runyon from the time I entered into the time I exited.
mm.
Everything was for the brand. Everything was how do we do it better. If it wasn't going to enhance our processes and our systems, then we weren't doing it. We were going to do certain things and we were going to do it well. And everything that I had to walk and talk. Even if I had those bad days, I was never going to down my brand. Even while we wasn't generating income on social media, but it was our brand, and it had to stick like that because we had to consistently bring people into it. We had to increase our enrollment. Our enrollment increased over my time at Belmont Runyon. When I walked in, we were at like 464. When I left, we were at 540, 550, something like that. We were able to retain those teachers that were trending and leaving. So yes, unless I believed it, unless I was able to promote the what I believed and believe in the people that was there, then I had no purpose. And my purpose was to help empower the building to stand and be stable and to rise. And we rose because we were at the bottom. So I said, there's nowhere else to go but up. Nowhere else to go but up. So we went up, we sustained it. And I helped to transform the belief of people that was within it because they began to believe that it could impact change. And that was a part of that collective teacher efficacy, right? You had to help them to believe it because when you're in a mindset of a failing school, there's a certain mindset that comes with the teachers that's within it that, oh, these children can't learn. And then the people outside are saying the teachers can't teach.
Yes.
So you have to change that belief by being an administrator that believes in your teacher. And when I walked in, I said, I'm going to take you for who you are, the good, bad, and ugly. I don't care who you are. I want you to stay, and I'm going to build you up, right? And then I had to have them believe that they can. I'm going to give you professional development. I'm going to let you go to professional development because I need you to be better for my teacher, for my babies. And when you're better for them, and when they begin to believe that they can learn, and when they begin to see the results of their learning, then we have a thriving environment.
Yes.
Yeah.
It starts with me. It starts every day when I walk in. No matter what I have, that
That's
baggage
it.
stays at the door. That baggage stays there. And when I walk in, I'm walking in with, oh, we got the prize. This is my prize. And you have to believe it. And we had a beautiful campus, but people were hurting inside. I had to help them heal. We healed
Yes.
That's powerful stuff. And you know,
Yes.
you
And I
know,
want to
to go real quick, Dr. Garrett. You know what's equally powerful, Dr. Washington. I'm assuming there's a lot of these folks that are referencing you, a lot of former staff that are on the call. So folks that just saw it not robbery to tune in and listen to the former principal, the retired principal. Speak your truth. That's powerful as well.
Love it.
Yeah, good stuff. Go ahead, Dr. Garrett.
because I want to piggyback on what both Dr. Washington and Dr. Porter said. One of the things when I'm starting a presentation is I share with people that we snap for ourselves. That's one of the ways we celebrate, right? Because if you're not willing to celebrate yourself, you can't expect anybody else to. Okay.
Love it.
And the same thing goes for your schools and your communities, right? If you're not willing to celebrate your own wins and count those, then you can't expect anyone else to do the same. So you have to be able to, when you catch those small wins, go ahead and begin to celebrate those, even as part of those brands and things. But here's the deal, and that's part of the pride piece. But going back to that very first question that you asked Dr. Porter, right? That for all of our aspiring people, folks that are aspiring to leadership positions, right? This attitude piece, if you're not stepping into a building and you can't celebrate that you are stepping into that space, then I want you to think about whether you need to be accepting that role, right? And that so think about that attitude from the beginning, right? So don't just start taking opportunities out there if you're not going to be able to champion those opportunities and start championing that brand. Just because you're getting ready to take AP or put assistant principal and principal behind your name. Okay, that's not what schools need, and that's not what
Not at all.
students need. That's not what we need. It sounds good. It might look good for the moment, but it's not going to be good for the culture, and it's not going to be it's not going to be good in the long run. If you can't walk through that door and start snapping it up for the team and start building that brand from the get-go, then sit this one out and wait for the one that you can walk through the door and start
love
giving it up and putting those fire emojis in the chat as soon as
Yeah.
you walk through the door and start building it up for them. Because that's what we need, and that's what they need from you.
Absolutely.
That's the attitude.
That's the attitude.
I love it.
Hey, yeah, let's before I move to y'all's talking points, I gotta stay there, man. Because some people, you know, not the people on the call right now, just people outside of you.
That's right.
They get these jobs, man. They're not ready.
Not ready.
I shouldn't even be smiling nor laughing, right?
Yeah, 'cause- yeah.
It's people that walk in here and they're not ready for this.
Yeah.
It's just that somehow, some way they got through. There's a variety of different reasons, but you gave the best advice. If you can't do what you said you're going to do, if you can't embrace that brand and take it with you, then it's not for you.
Yeah.
This thing called principal leadership, this is a monster, and I mean
Yes,
that
it is.
in a good and bad way, right? It's
Absolutely.
a monster. This can't your nice little personality, that ain't good enough, right? It's so much more this required. You gotta roll up these sleeves.
Absolutely.
As much as we talk about harmony and balance, and we talked about that here, as much as we talk about it, when you walk in that building, put most of the weight on that work side, right?
Yeah.
Not it ain't this in the beginning.
No.
It may become
right.
this, right? But right now, when you walk in there, this the leadership side right here. It might be up here somewhere, right? And we'll try to level it off at some point. But if you walking in there, I'm going in there like this. I'm going to the gym after work at 5, right? I'm going to get my ice cream at Dairy Queen. You know, whatever it is people do after work. Nah.
It's kind of like being a homeowner, Principal Caffelli, because everything rests on you.
Yeah.
Everything rests on you, from the safety of students, which
Yes.
comes first. You have to
Yes.
keep people safe, staff
Yes.
and students. You have to feel safe. Then you have to create an environment where they feel safe, right? Then you have to ensure that the teaching is meeting the expectations. So you have a lot of layers before you can even begin teaching, and all that is on you. You need to own it. If it's a mess, you own a mess.
Own
If
a mess.
it's great, you own a great. Whatever it is, you own
That's
it, and
it.
it's okay that
That's
it's a
it.
mess. It's
That's
okay.
it. It's
As
okay.
long as it doesn't stay there, right? Because the only way to go is go up. You go up.
Yes.
You go up from work. Principalship is a lot of work. It's dirty
Woo.
work. It's difficult conversations. It's long nights. It's a lot of reading. It's preparing. It's re-preparing. It's redoing, right? And it's collaboration. You can't do it on your own.
You
You're
can't do it on your own. So let me also say this too, for those sitting and those aspiring. Listen, when you have a chance to learn, so like this Saturday morning situation, 259 weeks, this
Yes.
is gold. So I applied to 23,500 subscribe. I applied
Period.
those, right?
Well,
This is gold.
you know that number. I'm impressed.
Right. I know, because I remember being on my campus and my APs and principals talking about tuning in on Saturday. And I was like, what? He doing what? Yeah, like, let me jump on. Right. Like, but this is gold, because when you have a chance to sit and learn and get game, because you know, up until the pandemic money came, there were a lot of places that didn't have money to afford professional development, right, to bring in speakers and opportunities and, you know, more than a day or more than a workshop or coaching. right? And so one of the things I'm noticing now is there's still places where we need modeling, right? So you have people coming in and talking to you, but they're not modeling exactly what we need to see done, right? So I'll give you an example. The other day, right, did some walkthroughs and noticed a gap, right? And I appreciate the fact that this principal was like, well, you know, you saw this. Will you address this? Absolutely. So yeah, I had the opportunity to model how to address closing this gap in this instruction, right? This instructional process, right? So that way, when next week comes, this gap should be closed, right? And then not only that, how to monitor that, how to support it. So from a leadership perspective, we can help these teachers make sure they don't do that again. But also, if we see it again, how to address it so that these students don't continue to have this experience, right? So when you get a chance to get game and get training, that kind of thing, that we can have that and we can continue to grow as leaders, because you know that bio is full, but it's full because I had to go find stuff.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right. And there's people, y'all are sitting here, some of y'all are sitting here because y'all had to go find stuff,
Yeah.
right, on Saturday to help us grow and help us be stronger and better leaders, right? And I think, you know, I don't know my sisters up here well, but might attest, we may not be sitting here because we're perfect. I'm sitting here because I wasn't perfect. I had to grow and develop
Absolutely.
and become better, right? So, you
I
know,
like it.
when we have these opportunities to grow, listen, I will sit at Principal Cafele's feet every single time, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Appreciate you.
this is how we grow.
This is how we
Absolutely.
grow. It's
And
how
you're
we
still
grow.
growing because
Still
people think
growing.
once you get into that role that you're done. That's when it
No.
really begins.
That's exactly.
Keep on soaring. Keep on soaring. Keep on growing. Let me go to these talking points. I don't know if we're gonna get to all of them, but we get to as many as we can. Let me put this first one. Dr. Porter, you had said, and I'll read it for the fam. Effective school leadership fosters a shared vision that prioritizes student success, staff well-being, and a thriving school culture. What are you saying? I'm gonna go answer the door while you speak, but I'm gonna hear you. So go ahead.
Okay. Absolutely. What I was saying there is that effective school leadership is truly, truly rooted in cultivating a shared vision. We all can agree to that. This shared vision, first of all, must place student success, student achievement at the center. But it doesn't stop there. That's the thing. It doesn't stop there. Great leaders, effective leaders, also must prioritize the well being of their staff. This is where I see the deficit.
Yes.
Principals are not caring for the adults in the building. You just
Mhm.
can't put children first and then don't care about the adults. And so, knowing that a supported team is essential, it is critical to sustain growth in your building. You have to treat
Mhm.
people right, including the adults. I just believe that. And when leadership is intentional, when you collaborate, when you communicate and create a culture where everyone feels valued, where they feel seen, where they feel heard, the entire community thrives. Not just your school, but the entire school community. So it's about leading with purpose, it's about leading with heart. And then when we lead with purpose and empathy, we can ensure that both students and the staff are empowered to
Mhm.
their full potential. I use the lead framework, my lead framework when I'm mentoring and coaching. And it's simply learn, execute, adapt, and develop. If you're not continuously learning, if you're not executing by turning those ideas and those strategies into action, if you're not adapting, meaning that you're assessing and adjusting your practices, and if you're not developing others,
Yes.
you're not leading effectively. It's really that simple. I just feel like that you have to build a culture of excellence and accountability. I just believe that.
You know, and like I said off camera, you all feel free to jump in here. Let me just ask you this one thing, Doc, on that one. Effective school leadership fosters a shared vision. Now, I want to stop it right there.
Mhm.
So, I'm in enough schools in my day job to know that there are a plethora of schools that don't have a vision.
Yes.
Right. So when we talk about a shared vision, there's nothing to share
Yes.
because there's no vision. And whether that be a vision statement or a vision that's been articulated and we all have embraced it, it's non-existent. So speak to that leader that may be that assistant principal's on right now, or even a teacher that's an aspiring administrator who's in a school and they say he's right because I don't know the vision in my school.
Yeah.
Right. What do you
Exactly.
say to that school as it relates to your talking point?
Yeah, you first have to find out what your big rocks are, right? Each year, each summer, we look at what are those 3 big rocks that we're going to tackle. Because one thing we know that there's a laundry list of things that we can tackle. But as you know, we can't tackle them all. And so you want to identify 3 big rocks. And within those 3 big rocks, you can develop what you want to see because the vision is all about what you want to see. That's why it's the vision. It's what do you want to see for your school?
Mm,
You get those 3 big rocks together, you wrap that around that vision of what you want to see around that, and you have a vision. If your principal has not articulated that, you as the assistant principal can be a part of that. That's one thing I don't like is a quiet assistant principal. And I don't know, sometimes the principal makes you feel like you don't have that authority, but my principal works right alongside with me. And so you have to come with some idea. If you see a gap that your principal is not filling, you step up and fill the gap. You do it. And
yeah.
so I would say identify those 3 big rocks that need to happen in your school and wrap that statement around what you would like to see from those 3 big rocks.
Yeah. So let me ask you this one more thing, and then I'm gonna turn it over to anybody who wants to chime in. Um, what if we are a visionless school? In fact, let's just say a missionless and visionless school. And
Wow.
and right now we're in the month of April. Some schools will be
Yes.
finished in May, others will be in June. When do we start to create a vision? And who does that? Is it the principal by him or herself? Is it the leadership team, the staff? Is staff involved? Who should be the stakeholders in developing that vision? And when should we start the process?
Absolutely. You should start immediately. Even if you don't have one now, what do we want to see before we end the school year? Even if we're ending in a month, what do we want to see? Because right now, spring is springing, and those kids are showing that it's
Yeah,
time is winding down. And
yeah,
so you so you have to know what is it that we need to see before we end the school year because we can pick up for the summer for next year, but you got to end. A month is a month, but you know what? That's a long time if your school is out of control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you start immediately. And who is involved in that? If the leader should have the vision and he or she brings everyone in, that's how you get the shared vision. But if your leader just does not have one and you are part of that administrative team or not, because again, teacher leaders,
Yes.
anyone that's a stakeholder that is vested in the success of your school should be able to step up and say, hey, what are we doing? What can we do? It's time out for just letting a leaderless leader run your school into the ground.
yeah.
Someone has to step up and say, hey, we need to go for a better direction in this. So the time is now, and anyone who's vested in that success of the school should be a part of that.
Yeah.
Love it. Anybody want to jump in?
Yeah. Just like silence is an answer,
Mm.
no vision is a vision.
Is a vision.
Right?
Yeah.
You know.
And I think
So,
sometimes we get caught up on having that statement, but those are just words. Your vision is what you see, what you hear, what you feel.
Yes.
right.
I
And
love
just like just like Dr. Porter said, right, the time is now.
Mhm.
And you can see countless examples of when we've realized that we don't have direction, we can find direction,
Yes.
right? And I can tell you, if the leader is not leading, someone is leading, even if
Someone
it's with
is leading.
influence,
That's it.
Mhm.
That's it.
right? And so that's when someone needs to step up to the plate and make sure that the staff is pointing itself in the correct
Absolutely.
direction. And I even had this coaching conversation last week where we did have to redirect, right? And so the framework that I coach from is reset, reflection, evaluate, strategize, execute, and then track your progress, right? And so when we realized that we weren't headed in the right direction, and we got through the reflection part, and it was, oh well, they do this, that, and the third. I said, oh, but we are resetting, right? And so we're starting from the point of where we want them to go. So once we have had this development, now what is it that we're expecting to see? And from this expectation, we are moving forward. So it's even that mindset shift, right? And so we can redirect beyond a vision statement with a reset of an expectation.
Yes.
And then we can establish a statement from the summer. And I'll give you the example of, when I transitioned from chief academic officer to leading my campus. That was not a exact transition, like a summer transition, right? There was an announcement before the end of the year. Okay, so we started that process before the end of the year actually happened,
Yep.
right? And it was the entire campus sitting in the cafeteria. It's like, y'all, we don't exactly know what's gonna happen, but look, let's start from here. This is me. Let's start from what we know we want to happen at this point,
Exactly.
and let's start casting the vision that we want to see.
Love it. Love
And
it.
you, Principal Cafele, you asked, when do you start planning? Like when I left and when the school ended, because you never leave as a principal, it's 24/7, 365. When I left in June, the next year was already planned.
Yeah.
Right. So when you come back in September, when everyone comes back in September, the children come, that's when you start planning for the following year. Right. Because when you strategically plan, everything is done before people walk into your building. We already know what we're going to be doing for the next 10 months. So during those next 10 months, my thing was plan, implement, assess, adjust. So I'm doing that all throughout the year. So then all throughout the year, I'm thinking about, okay, what do we scaffold and put for next year? What are we doing for next year? You're always thinking about that. You're never like going day to day. Sometimes you have to, but for the global issues of the school, you're planning in advance.
Yeah.
Like I don't deal with spontaneous things. I needed a plan. A plan.
Yeah.
We're planning for a plan. Before you leave in June, that plan is set for the next year. September starts our new planning.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. I
And there's a question in the chat that says, "What if you're scared
well, I
or
just put it on the
disappointed?"
screen, so it caught
Oh,
your attention too. Yeah, I
oh
wanted.
yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
no,
Thank you.
I wanted to go. I didn't want to leave until we got to this. So,
Mhm.
so here's what I want Kimberly to do. I hope you're still there. Kimberly, what do you mean? Right? Because I'm. It's a little vague for me. What if you're scared of what or disappointed? They're going to answer that. So just give us that, and then while you're typing that, here's what I wanted to ask of you all. To the fam out there, I should have at 12 o'clock given them an opportunity, 12 Eastern, to give them an opportunity to give their contact information, book information, all that kind of stuff. But I got caught up into the discussion. We're not done, right? So I don't want you to think, all right, he's getting ready to sign off. No, I'm not. Not yet. Not yet. Give me about 30 more minutes, right? But I want them to at least, like you'll see Dr. Washington, you see all them books behind her. Dr. Washington, put one of them books behind you. Bring one of them books to the screen for me. Yeah, hold it up close. Yeah. You can get that on Amazon, correct?
Correct. And
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble.
And Barnes and Noble. So that's her book. What's that what's the subtitle underneath?
Cultivating Growth and Well-Being Within School Communities.
Now hold it back up there. Hey folks, that's Dr. Washington's first book. Get yourself a copy. Just go to Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com, either one, and get yourself a copy of that book. While I'm with you, Dr. Washington, how can the folks follow you on social media or even contact you to come out and do a seminar, come out and do a keynote, come out and do a workshop, whatever it is that's in your portfolio? How do they reach you?
You can reach me through anchoredinexcellence.net, no spaces, anchoredinexcellence.net. And there's a contact screen where you can enter your information and I can get back in contact with you. And you can also, there are links to purchase the books there also. Also, my email address is drwashington.edu@gmail.com.
Love it. And again, to the fam, we are not done. I just want them to get this information out here real quick. Let me go to Dr. Garrett. Same thing.
Hey, you can reach me. I am at Dr. NC Garrett on all platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Blue Sky, and you can book me or find more information about me at my website, drncgarrett.com. And I also have a link tree, Dr. NC Garrett. And you can email me, Dr. NC Garrett at elledservices.com, ELLEDSERVICES.com.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Dr. Porter, same thing.
Absolutely. I am Dr. Sharon on all social media platforms. I live on LinkedIn. That is absolutely the best way to connect with me. It's Sharon Hargrove Porter, all of my names. Also, my link tree is Sharon H. Porter. You can find all of my information on Linktree. But yeah, I am Dr. Sharon. My latest book is Champions of Change, where I feature Black male educators making a positive impact in schools. I just dropped the link in the chat. Also, I have the Women Who Lead series, which I'll also put that in the chat, and the Next in Line to Lead series, all based on education. So definitely check me out, and you can go to drsharonwrites.com, and that will take you to all of my books.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
And if you're going to be at ASCD, United, and SREB, I will be at those conferences this summer.
That's right. And I'll see you there. I'll see you there. I'm looking for what you dropped in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it.
All right. I'll redo it.
Yeah, because I got all the platforms here. So whichever one you use, I'm gonna see it.
Okay.
All right. So Kimberly didn't, as far as I see, didn't follow up. So I don't know if she stuck around. So let's come back to that because I just want her to give clarity. Kimberly, if you're still there, when you talked about what if you're scared or disappointed, we just wanted you to give clarity. What exactly are you asking? And then we certainly will address it. I don't see it. If one of you see it, then let me know. But I'm not seeing it. Yeah. No, I'm only seeing the original. So I wanted her to give clarity. So let me go to the next one. The next one, where we at? Here we go. Dr. Washington. And this is what I could fit on the screen. I'm gonna read the whole thing though. Professional development. School leaders must cultivate a culture of continuous learning, providing teachers with opportunities for professional growth. Oh no, that's the one I could fit everything. So give us what are you telling us here?
Okay, not every building is set up for professional learning. And I don't mean just the PLCs where you're looking at student data. I'm talking about learning, professional learning, that you are improving your capacity as a leader or your pedagogy as a teacher. And so we have multiple opportunities where we can teach our staff. You have staff meetings that really shouldn't be used for housekeeping that you can send an email for. My staff meetings monthly were planned in advance, and we did book studies. Right? You got to read. Principals should be reading. You should have a library that people can borrow from. And you begin by scaffolding those books with your staff. We did one year, we did a book study with one of Kafele's books. And so that's important because that allows you to unpack the learning for the year, and you scaffold it in a professional development as a whole staff, and then you could do small groups. But also you want to challenge your teachers to seek their own professional learning, because they have their own individual learning plans, and sometimes it's not met within a district or school level. So you want them to go to conferences. You want to try to allocate funding in your school budget, or you want to tell them to go to the union. Sometimes the union has reimbursement. You want to help them to get those resources. And also you have free webinars. A lot of times other organizations give webinars and other training that they can go to for free. And you want them to go to those things because you want them to improve, but then challenge them to come back and to share that with the staff. Give them that platform to share that knowledge so that everyone can learn. There are a lot of initiatives that we adopted at our school because teachers had their own initiative to go to different conferences, to get certifications in other areas. So I gave them a platform to come back and recycle that and teach it to their staff members. And so that learning is ongoing. You're never stopping. It's like, what are we doing? Teachers that are in their master's program, that's still a learning program. Teachers that are in doctoral programs, they still need to be able to have a thought partner to talk to about the different things that they're researching. So you should have a building where everyone has a learning goal. Every staff member should be learning something. What's your learning goal for the year? You want to improve on what? And so you can challenge them to do that. Then the whole building can benefit as a result.
I love it. That continuous learning. But I think the key word which you have on here, must cultivate a culture, and that's the word there, a culture of continuous learning, right? Because if it's not a culture there, then it's you trying to dictate it all day, as opposed to it's just organic that this is what we do. Right, so culture is important.
You wouldn't believe, Principal Caffelli, how many buildings that it's not a focus to have books as the forefront of your learning.
Yeah.
That there should be some type of research that all these researchers out there. You got Principal Caffelli that has like 14 books, and they're easy read. So I got the number right. So whether if you have a staff member that can't chunk a white paper, then you have other types of things that they can use to help them to understand, because everyone learns differently. If it's a webinar, if it's an article, if it's a book, but those have to be at the forefront, because that tells you your why. You're not just doing things. There's research that says that this works in our environment. This promotes student achievement.
I love it. Great, good stuff. I hope you're getting all this down, fam. And those of you who will watch the video later, same thing. Let me go to Dr. Garrett. You said, I believe school leaders thrive when they lead with clarity, using data and strategy to drive meaningful student change, student-centered change. Dr. Garrett, when I first read this earlier in the week from you, what stood out for me with this was when you said lead with clarity. So obviously I want you to address the talking point, but put particular emphasis on that leading with clarity in terms of what that means to you.
Leading with clarity is, essentially establishing I think when we're in education, there's this thing, all these things we call edu-speak. And we're in a space where many of our educators have come from so many walks of life at this point, right? And so we can be saying things, and the way they are heard, we may not all be saying the same things, right? And so it's getting clear and making sure that our teachers, our teams have the model of what it is that we are communicating. 2, they understand the expectation around how it's used and how it is implemented. And 3, how it is impactful within our community and how it breathes, and is part of our mission and vision. And we didn't talk about this much, but our core values as a community. And leaders are leading with that, right? So when we have that clarity as a leader, right, we are speaking with that clarity, right? We're communicating with that clarity. And communication is not just what we speak and what we're putting in writing, it's how we act, it's how we show up to our different spaces and our different meetings, and how we engage. And when other folks say they have encountered us, they get that same level of clarity with their encounter. And so if I am a school leader and I'm leading with clarity, everyone is having the same experience with me around this particular idea, concept, or what have you. It lives and breathes through me.
Yeah, I love it.
It has life.
It has life, lives and breathes through you, and it's clear to everybody what the expectation is. See, like Donna Gant was saying, "Amen." Right? Lead with clarity. And it's not uncommon to hear people on staff to express confusion around what the leader expects of us. You know, there's just multiple interpretation of what the leader is saying. What does he or she mean, right? So we don't understand, you know. So you got people all just moving in different directions and so forth. But that clarity piece, and when I read that, I said, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing you on that, because that clarity ensures, from the leadership vantage point, that we're all hearing the same thing, so we can so that we can march together.
That's right. I'll give you an example, right? I was working with a leader a couple of weeks ago, facilitated. We talked about a professional development when it was implemented, and we came back together at the end to debrief about the facilitation of that professional development. And it was, right, the idea of it was aligned to our overarching idea of, gradual release, right? And so I said, how do you feel? Great. Okay. So what do you believe that the teachers took away? And she gave me her belief. I said, okay, do you believe that I said, what are your expectations? And she gave me the expectations. I said, do you believe that they walked away with those expectations? I don't know. I said, so now we got to go back. We have to tie this in a bow. We have to stamp this understanding, right? And now we have to set those expectations, talk about the support, and talk about the monitoring. Why? Because this has to live. It's got to live itself out in the way that we walk it through.
Yeah.
Right? It can't just be in the email. It can't just be in the conversation. Right? It has to literally live in its own cycle.
I like that.
It's got to get clear.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, to add to that, sometimes as leaders, we want to say it once and don't think that we need to say it again. Often when we're saying it, if someone is already close to us as a leader, they're not listening to us. So we have to find other forums. So we need to have it formally, an email or some type of, I had an operational plan every year. So it was our Bible. But then they also need to see it. They see it through weekly newsletters. They see it on every agenda. Those goals are still embedded on their agendas. And then everything we do is embedded within that same thing. And we're constantly talking about it. And we have those midpoint check-ins. We're checking in as we go. We're assessing whether it's being done correctly, whether we need to make monitor and make adjustments, so that at the end, when we're saying we don't know whether they got it, we have data to say, oh, well, we did these checkpoints on these different times. So we saw what they didn't get. So we made a revision as we went on before we got to the end. So clarity, yes, but we have to understand that different people learn different ways and they take in information differently. They heard you, they just didn't hear you. And so we have to make sure that we get the message clear. And sometimes the message has to be repeated over and over and over and over again. They need to see it again and again and again in different formats.
Now, Dr. Garrett, Kimberly, I saw that she's a teacher leader, so I understand what she was saying before. She's not in administration, right? So in terms of that being scared or being disappointed, I get it from that lens that she may not be comfortable. Perhaps that's what she was saying with approaching administration with that conversation around the vision. But here he's addressing what you just said. Are you speaking to follow up, not just the data, but change, the visible change? Are you clear on the question?
About believe the school leaders thrive when they lead with clarity.
Yeah.
Her comment is regarding this using
Yes,
data.
yeah. It's the current bullet, the current.
Okay.
Yeah, see, that was way back, probably way back in the beginning of your thoughts. And Kimberly clarified using that word. Clarify that for us so that we can be of service for you.
I mean, I can clarify my comment about the using data and strategy. Yeah. Okay. And so using data and strategy to drive meaningful student-centered change. And so one of my beliefs is that as educators, we have a responsibility to each student that sits in our seats, right? And so we use data to make sure that we are addressing the needs of each student. And that data tells us what those different students need. So case in point, I just did a webinar on Monday on how we can get to the helps or find learning misconceptions for students and group them by their skills in preparation for the end of year assessment, right? And that helps us make sure we don't address by the broad stroke of the standard and miss skills, but we can get them right where they are, right at their point of error, and address exactly what that is, right? So that's an example of using that data to reach each student. And that's an example of how we met growth, right, in our current space, right? But even when we're talking about how we met growth with our graduation rate, it was looking at each one of those students that were on track not to graduate and figuring out where they were, and calling cousins, aunts, people, right? So it was using very specific and targeted data, and using that to meet those students exactly where they were. So when you're talking about meaningful student-centered change, it's using that data for each child and impacting that student. So those are very specific examples, Kimberly. But when you have data, and you can use it to get down to that student need, then you use it to do that, right? And it feels like I tell people this, it feels like a heavy lift at first, but so do 10-pound weights until you pick up 20-pound weights, up 30-pound weights, right? You keep building your muscle and it gets easier and easier and easier.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's do one more round, and then we'll go to our rapid fire and then close it out since we're approaching 2 hours.
2 hours?
Wow. Feel like it.
Yeah, so let me go to Dr. Porter here.
Okay.
Let me see where we at. Okay. So the second one you gave me, leadership development is an ongoing journey that equips educators with the self-awareness, the skills, and the mindset to lead with clarity and purpose. There's that word again. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, leadership development, as I mentioned before, is the heart of my work. It's truly, truly my passion. My dissertation research was focused on leadership development and principal preparation. And so it's not a destination. And that's what we first have to understand. It's an ongoing journey. We know that it helps increase self-awareness, build those skills and those mindsets to lead with clarity and purpose that we've been talking about. You have to develop strong communication skills and help develop it in others. And that means listening actively. We oftentimes forget that listening is a big part of communication. We have to build trust. We have to clearly articulate that shared vision that we were talking about. And it also cultivate emotional intelligence, which so many of our leaders lack. We have to be able to recognize and manage our own emotions. And then that's why we empathize with others. So that's a skill within itself. And that's something that I had to work on early in my career. I needed help with that. And so I had to work on that. As Dr. Gant talking about building that muscle, I had to do that. But it's a key to building strong relationships with students, staff, and all of our families. Strategic thinking, problem solving, all of these are critical. And I just want to give an example. When you're facing a challenge, whether it's declining student engagement or teacher burnout, which we see a lot these days, strong leaders are able to analyze that data. We get that input from stakeholders. We collaborate these solutions. We adapt. All of these things that we have to do are equally important. But whether you're leading through curriculum changes or supporting your community through some major crisis, effective leaders have to remain grounded, and you have to be able to help develop others. The mark of an effective leader is the ability to develop others. Point point blank. And with saying that, I have to give a shout out to Dr. Ryan Daniel, who was just announced as the National Distinguished Principal. I coached her first year principal. I could not be more excited because when you see individuals starting from the beginning and the way she grew, she was amazing in the beginning. But leadership development will take you to heights unknown. And so that's my passion. That's my work.
She's at the elementary level, right?
Portfoot Elementary, Prince George's County. We're so excited about her.
Wow. Okay. I gotta reach out to her.
Absolutely. I will connect
I had
you.
the national. I had the national, the NASSP, Tracy Anderson Swilly, on here not too long ago.
Yes.
So, yeah. So we got to reach out to her.
So just so excited for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Where we at? Where we at? Let me go to this next one. We almost done, y'all. Dr. Washington, where we at? I'm gonna go down to the one you had about systems, because we kind of talked about the one that you actually had on here. So what I could fit on the screen, it said systems thinking, strategic planning. Strategic planning helps school leaders define a clear vision and mission for their schools. And then I'm gonna continue it here. It allows school leaders to create a roadmap for the short and long-term outcomes, outlining where the school wants to go and how it intends to get there. Give us an understanding of that one.
Every year, and I think I adapted this strategy when I was a vice principal, which was many moons ago, was just to map. It started out as a map, just to map out the school year. How do I want the school year to go? Right. And then it turned into this strategic plan. And then it got aligned to an annual school plan that we have to do when you're a school, comprehensive school with the state. And so what it involves is you identifying your goals and objectives, your timelines for meeting those goals, identifying who's responsible for what, and what the intended outcome is going to be. Having that knowledge ahead of you in the beginning of the year, you're not every month, you're not saying, oh, what are we doing for professional development? It's already in the plan. You're not identifying what student activities you're doing because it's already in your school climate plan. That's attached to your school operational plan. The school operational plan also identifies how we do things here. Our culture. How do we come to work? How do we leave work? What do we do in these instances? It outlines all the guidelines and policies. So the expectations are clear in terms of what teachers should be doing, the teacher actions, student actions, and administrative actions. And just knowing that in advance, so no one is walking around wondering, what do I do and when do I do it by? Your lesson plan checkpoints are there. Your assessment checkpoints are there. Everything is clear. And for me, that helped me because it provided a roadmap for everyone. So if it wasn't in that plan, then we didn't do it. And it was sometimes where district initiatives would come up and that would, we had to add it in. But the idea is that we're going to follow our plan. We're going to monitor that plan. We're going to make adjustments as we go. And we're going to assess the data to determine the effectiveness of it. I did that. I was a principal for 20 years, 20 plus years. I did that every year. It was strategic, and it got introduced to teachers at the beginning of the school year. It was your Bible. And then for students, it got translated into a student parent handbook so that everyone knew what was expected. Parents, this is what is expected of you. This is how we're going to educate you through our parent academy. This is what we expect for our students. This is when we're doing our parent workshops. This is when we're having our family nights. Having a clear goal of that, then you can take your budget and align your resources to match that. And you're not going month to month, week to week, wondering how you're doing this. No, it's in the beginning. You're planning it out, you're mapping it out, you're adjusting as you go. And so at the end of the year, you already have all your adjustments, and then you're fine tuning them and creating your plan for the following year. And for me, that was the only way that I can lead. I couldn't do it day by day. Every week I did my plan for the week. I identified what classrooms I was visiting, what meetings I was going to, what meetings I was leading. And then what my expectations for in terms of classroom visitations, in terms of student talks, in terms of parental engagement, in terms of school culture and climate. What we'll be doing for the school. School culture and climate doesn't happen by mistake. You have to plan for it. And you take your data based upon what perception data that you have, and you build what people want. When I say what people want, people need to be excited about coming to work. You need theme days. You need cluster plans. You need to talk about how you're going to celebrate teachers, how you're going to celebrate staff, how you're going to celebrate students, how you're going to celebrate parents. You just don't think about it. Last week was assistant principals week. You don't think about it on a Monday of that week, and hopefully that by Friday you can get something done. That is on the calendar. Right? You know what you're doing. So you celebrate those people as they deserve to be celebrated. From the beginning, you know that in September that is happening.
Yeah.
And when you do this, when you have a community where everyone is celebrated, they feel good about coming to work. So your plan is just what we do. Instruction is what we do because we feel good about coming to work. Children feel good about coming to school. And so when we have obstacles, we could deal with those obstacles because we know that the plan is designed for everyone's success.
Yeah, so you already anticipated those obstacles.
You anticipate it. You have your misconceptions. You know what people aren't going to understand, what you need to provide more support for, because you know your staff. You know who needs more time to learn something. So you make sure you have the extra supports in for that person. You make sure that they get extra supplies because they need to teach in a certain way. You know that because you know them, because you've been having conversations with them. You've been in a classroom, so you know what their deficits are. So you know that you need to know every component of your building. You need to know everything about the people that are operating in your building.
I love it. I'm being mindful at times. So I won't even ask you a question. Let me go right to the last one with Dr. Garrett. And you said, I'm passionate about helping principals and assistant principals create school cultures that prioritize whole child development and instructional excellence for each student. I know we talked a little bit about it, but I'm sure you got something to add to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we're talking about whole child development, that's acknowledging, that humanity exists, right? And it exists in our schools, and it exists for our staff, just like it exists for our students. And it also impacts their achievement. Okay. It impacts what happens with students as they sit in our seats. So one of the things that I believe schools should be academically, socially, emotionally, and physically safe for students. Okay. And that's that whole child piece. So while we have academic systems in place, we also should have social, emotional, and physical supports in place that keep students safe while they are with us. And as school leaders, we have to set up those systems that monitor them. So give you some examples that, one of the things that we set up in our school communities were some SEL matrices. Just like you have a discipline matrix, we developed what we call a social emotional matrix that supported not only our assistant principals, but our teachers in understanding what might be some of those natural kind of social emotional moves to take when students might be presenting certain behaviors. Right? Because coming out of the pandemic, that was a natural, there were just some things we were introduced to that we just had not been introduced to prior to, that were still there. Right. And then, the core, right? We're talking about MTSS. So what were some of those MTSS tiered behaviors now with social emotional learning along with physical safety that needed to be there? And so when we're talking about this whole child development piece, though, for our campus, we developed food pantries on our campus so we ended up with 4 pantries on our campus. And initially we were feeding 7 families, ended up feeding about 13 families every month, and some that were being fed, that were being furnished by local churches and other organizations for us to be able to ensure that our families and kids that needed it as needed had opportunities to take food home with them to help out with hunger issues and food insecurity issues, and different parts, health screenings and all those different activities, partnerships, again, those community partnerships and things that helped us to ensure that we closed that gap on some of the challenges that families and students experience, that also impacted their ability to learn while they were seated. So that whole child developmental piece that impacts their academic piece, and just being strategic with that so that we can develop the whole child.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I appreciate it. Listen to the fam out there. So much information shared. So much dialogue that we could continue to have on each of these talking points. But because of time, I just don't want to keep on and beg you all to stay on all day. But certainly go back and look at the video again. But we're going to close out by going to our rapid fire BAM impact questions. These are 21 questions. We go 7, 7, and 7. And then the last one I give to all 3. These are no commas can be inserted. So if you find that you're adding a comma, I just got to cut you off and say, right? It's just one sentence or even one word, right? But, whatever works for you. And then we'll keep it going. I'm going to start with Dr. Porter on these first 7. Is education on the right path for underserved children? I think you're muted.
Absolutely not.
All right. Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Yes, it can.
Does Dr. Sharon Porter's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Absolutely.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
Somewhat different.
Why do you continue to do this work?
The passion that I have for education.
What particularly fires you up within the work that you do?
Developing others.
And what do you dislike about the work that you do?
The politics of it all.
Dr. Washington, what has been your greatest victory in your work thus far?
Still working on it.
What was your greatest mistake in the work you do?
Sometimes hiring the wrong people.
What has been your greatest challenge in the work that you do or did?
Putting my school needs above the district needs.
Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
Yes.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
No.
Who inspires you in your work?
All the people around me.
What book do you recommend for our fam out there this afternoon?
Thriving Together, Cultivating Wellness, Success and Wellness in Educational Communities.
Hold that up to the screen for me. Yeah, that's Dr. Washington's book, somebody. So that's the book she's recommending. I recommend it as well. Get yourself a copy. Dr. Garrett, what do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
Oh, I'm still working on my legacy.
Are you satisfied with where you are now professionally?
Yes.
Is there another gear to your leadership, or are you at peak performance now?
There's definitely another gear.
What would you say to an AP out there who continues to face closed doors to the principalship?
Keep pressing and still be selective.
What would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership passion?
Pray with your feet.
Hmm. What would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership confidence?
Lost your leadership confidence. I would say, I would say keep praying. I would say keep praying.
Keep praying. And finally, if Dr. Shante Garrett was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Oh, free.
What's the word?
Free.
Free?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There, no.
Not like free as in freedom.
It's free. Yeah, I got you.
But you would definitely have to pay if you brought me in, but not.
Yeah, right.
So definitely living free.
Yeah. Dr. Sharon Porter, if Dr. Sharon Porter was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. If Dr. Deneen Washington was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Strategic thinker.
Strategic thinker. Good stuff. Let me be the first to say, great job, great job. Let me applaud you. To the fam out there, you already started, but to the folks who are new to the platform or this is your first time, the way we applaud our guests is just put your favorite emojis on the screen. Give us a lot of them, and that way our guests know that you appreciated what they had to offer. So the question is, if the statement is, if something that you heard today resonated with you, if you found it was useful, that you could utilize it, you could incorporate it, infuse it into your practice. If it just sounded good to you, if it was good stuff for you, then give us your favorite emoji as I get my Jackie Robinson bat out here. I used the real.
I love it.
So y'all hit it out the park. Grand slam. By the time you went to the plate, you knocked it out. Good stuff. Good stuff. Once again, Dr. Washington, put your book on the screen for me. Y'all can get this book, Thriving Together, at Amazon or Barnes and Noble. How else can they reach you, Dr. Washington, to come in and do some consulting or some speaking?
They can reach out to me through my website, my webpage, anchoredinexcellence.net, or reach out to me via email, drwashington.edu@gmail.com. I'm also on every platform. And also I have a YouTube channel, Dr. Deneen Washington.
Excellent. Dr. Garrett, same thing.
Yes, I am at Dr. NC Garrett on each platform. You can reach out to me on my website, drncgarrett.com. You can email me, drncgarrett at LELLEEDSERVICES.com. And I also have a link tree / Dr. NC Garrett. And also, if you are traveling to conferences this summer, I will be at ASCD, SREB, as well as United.
Sounds good. Now that one that to the fam, to that one that Dr. Garrett with all them letters, just rewind the video, right? and, and let it go slow, right? You'll know what she said, right? It'll be in video format within the next few minutes, right? Dr. Porter, same with you. Jump in.
Yes, I am Dr. Sharon. It's where I am on all social media platforms. That's IAMDR Sharon. Also, you can find all of my books at drsharonwrites.com. That's DR Sharon H. drsharonwrites.com. And also, my link tree is Sharon H. Porter. Again, my mode of social media is LinkedIn, so please connect with me there, Sharon Hargrove Porter.
There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Reach out to them, folks. Another 3 more valuable assets to bring to your school, your district, your conference, your organization, whatever it may be. Reach out to them, right? Let me close out, and you all stay on for me when I end, right? Let me close out by saying to all the fam out there and all the first timers, appreciate you being here for week 259. If you tuned in late, this is 259 consecutive. I haven't missed a Saturday since the first Saturday I sat down in this chair to start this platform. First Saturday in May of 2020 during the stay at home. And here we are. It was meant to be 18 weeks, and then I'm done. It was going to be the whole summer. So first Saturday in May until the last Saturday in August, and then it's a wrap. Move on to the next thing. But when I saw the volume of people, we were averaging well over 10,000 a week. I said, well, I don't think we're going to stop. We're going to keep it going. And we kept it going, and here we are. Next Saturday will be week number 260 consecutive. So that's where we are. A lot of people can't watch the live. Some can, some can't. But we, folks watch the video, so we're still averaging about 10 to 12,000 a week, and I'm not mad at that at all. Right. So the close out next Saturday will be number 260. Got an old buddy friend of mine. His name is, many of you, I'm sure you heard of him because he's got a zillion books out. His name is Eric Sheninger. He will be my guest. We're gonna go solo because he's got so much stuff out there. So join us next week. I'm sure he's been at a lot of your schools and districts and conferences and so forth. He gets around. He's from New York, but he was a principal here in Jersey. Eric Sheninger. Next week number 262 at 10:55. But before I come on Saturday, every Saturday, Facebook Live, among other platforms, but I just do the Facebook side. Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. AP New Principals Academy, myself at 10:55, and then Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno, PDP podcast, Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. In fact, he changed that time, man. Go on his page, Josh, MPA Jaguars, or Josh, if you're still there, put the right time in there, man. You changed it, and I forgot. If you don't have your copy of my new joint, get your copy. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? And if you go to Amazon while you're there, look at all the other books I've written, and maybe you get yourself a bundle, right? Or you can go to ASCD, or you can go to Barnes and Noble. Any place books are sold, you can get them. Let me see what Josh put in here. Hey, Josh, give me the time you start. I know the name of it. Okay, 4 Central, so 5 Eastern. For PDP podcast, 5 Eastern, 4 Central. Where we at? School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele, July 15 and 16. Go to principalkafele.com, homepage, scroll down, click the link. Join me in Raleigh, North Carolina, July 15 and 16. We're going to just talk instructional leadership all day long for 2 days. If there's other things that you want to talk about, certainly we'll address it, but that's going to be the theme. And you get a free copy of this with your registration. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? So make sure that you register. I'd love to see you in the building. Subscribe to the AP New Principals Academy YouTube channel, 23,500. As Dr. Garrett said, that's how many people have subscribed so far. 23,500. That's a blessing. But on the other hand, there is a other hand. The other hand is there's over 300 administrators in America. I only got 23,500 of them, right? So let's make sure we get some more subscribers on here too. But I'm blessed, man. I ain't complaining. Visit principalcafele.com for additional resources. And lastly, your diet. Make sure you're eating right. Your exercise. Get it in. I'm taking today off, but tomorrow morning I'm in that gym. And your virus precautions. It's a lot out here, man. I felt like I can't even tell you what I was thinking because y'all will misconstrue. A guy sitting next to me on the plane. I'm gonna say it this way. I hope I can say this. There's a particular type of individual. Let's just say it that way. There's a type of individual in the world. I see them on planes though, that literally have no thought of covering their mouth when they cough. Right. It's a type of individual. I'm just going to leave it like that. Right. And don't try to interpret that because you might get the wrong interpretation. But I noticed this class and they sit there and they just cough. And I'm like, yo, right. It's like, do this, do something, man. But just to, so that's why I say virus precautions. I got like 5 masks in my bag. And one of the things, I don't like to wear my mask on the plane. But one of the things I do with a wealth of pride, when that joker is sitting next to me gonna cough, I go in my bag, put that mask on like aggressively so that you see me put this mask on because of you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I end every Saturday by saying virus precautions, man. Take care of yourselves because there's some people out here that don't give. Oh, I was getting ready to use profanity. That don't care. Those of you with the children watching, I know that's why I keep it cool. With the children, I gotta say, it's people that just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm sick, and I'm going to let you get sick with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What you say, JT? Principal Faye driving Nuggets support the whole league. Yeah. Hey, JT, I hope you got that message. I'm gonna reach out to you within the next half hour because I need to get you on my list of guests. Right. So anyway, folks, appreciate you being here. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet.
Yeah.
Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back all the way. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I'll see y'all next Saturday, 10:55.